Hey, good afternoon. It's Thursday and it's 1:30. It's time for our Facebook Live. I'm Chris Gabrelchik, the CEO and President of Lubrication Specialties, the maker of Hot Shot Secret. And with me is Kevin Adams. He's our Vice President, Head of Research and Development. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about CP4 pumps. But before we do, we want to let you know this is dual streaming on YouTube and Facebook. So be sure to like it and share it and follow us on Instagram and YouTube and all those things. Tell your friends about it. We want to let you know we answer questions. This is an opportunity for Kevin and I to answer all your questions about oil additives, mechanical things if we know it. But the idea is to put your questions in now, and we're going to get to them in about 5 minutes. We have a hard close at 2:30, so anything that happens after that, we've got to answer offline. But if you have a question that you think the audience would want to hear the answer to, then please let us know now. Start putting the questions in. Post it below. Again, with the VP of R&D and you have the CEO. I'm a certified lubrication specialist with the Society of Tribology and Lubrication Engineers. My primary focus is on diesel oil, diesel additives, diesel fuel. That's where we really do well. And so again, ask your questions and we'll do our best to answer them. We also like to give you a little bit of insight as to what's going on inside the LSI building here, just tell you things that are going on and what we've worked on this week. We'll give you a few web announcements and then a couple dealer shout outs, and then we'll jump right on to the questions. So Kevin, you want to go on and tell us about the web and what's going on there?
Yeah, last couple weeks we've been talking about the LX4, so it is now available on our website, and some of our dealers are starting to carry it. They're getting their shelves stocked up. So,
what is LX4?
LX4 is our latest product. It's a lubricity additive for diesels and gas. We initially came out with it to address some of the dry fuels that are used in racing. There's a couple very popular racing fuels that are causing some problems. So we wanted to address that, and then also at the events we get a lot of talk about CP4 pumps. Hey, do you have any additives to help protect the pump? And the EDT has a lubricity additive that helps that and has lubricity along with everything else. In the past, we've mentioned how we can't really put any more additives in. So we have looked at.
You can't put more additives in because the drum is full.
Yeah.
It's just so packed full of things. To put something in, you have to take something else out.
Yeah.
So we had to make a judgment call on how much lubricity. And in this case, we're saying, what if somebody just wanted pure lubricity or they wanted a lot more lubricity?
Yep.
We didn't really want to take anything out of the everyday diesel treatment. We wanted to give you an additional top treat.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also discovered that the ingredients in LX4 are more powerful, more concentrated than our current lubricity additive that we're using. So probably in 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be adding LX4 as an ingredient into our EDT.
And so as a result, during the middle of all this R&D, the research and development, there was a class action lawsuit against General Motors on their diesel trucks because they were using a pump called the CP4. Before that, they used the CP3. See, they're creative, man. Their naming is just like our naming. We don't make it fancy. So the idea was on the CP3 there was very few problems, but then when the CP4 came out, a more efficient pump, they started having issues because of lubricity. There wasn't enough lubricity in the fuel, and it started creating catastrophic failure. So my understanding is the pump starts to shear apart, and the metal fragments start to come off. Those go through the fuel system into the injectors, which are like slivers of glass in your veins. So this is slivers of metal going right through, and they're busting everything apart, and then it becomes a huge expense. It's not just replacing the pump. So.
Yeah, and also it's not just unique to Duramax. Duramax and General Motors is the company involved in this lawsuit, but the company that's putting the lawsuit together initially tried to sue everybody that had CP4 in it. So the failure rates among all the manufacturers is pretty much the same because there's just subtle differences in how it's being used. Most of them don't have a lift pump to supply pressure to the pump. It's carrying the whole weight. I just run through real quick which trucks do have the CP4 pump in it. So of course General Motors 2011 to present has the CP4. In Ford, it's the 6.7 liter V8, the 2011 and present, And then Dodge and Jeep, they both have that 3-liter diesel. The CP4 is in both of those.
So any of those models are going to have a high rate of failure
Yeah.
compared to their competitors. Now, when you mention a lift pump, give us a 30-second understanding of what that is, because I'm sure a lot of people don't understand that their truck may have 2 pumps. I'm thinking a fuel pump, that's all I need, right?
Yeah, a lot of the way diesel fuel injection systems have been designed in the past, like previous to CP4, they would have a lift pump that would supply pressure, about 50 to 60 pounds to the injection pump. And so in an effort to optimize and increase efficiency, Bosch came up with this design to not only eliminate the lift pump, but to also be able to do more work with less flow going through the pump. So to give you an idea, some of the causes of failure is the more work it's expected to do generates more heat. There's about 20% less flow that's going through this pump versus a CP3, and all those things contribute to a more sensitive design, sensitive in the subject of lubrication. And when I was doing a little bit of research, I found out that in 2002, the Engine Manufacturers Association had come out with a statement saying that injection systems that are designed overseas, made for European diesel fuel, wouldn't be suitable in general for U.S. diesel fuel because of the difference in the lubricity content.
Too dry.
Yeah, because it's too dry. So
that's what causes the lawsuit, is because it was a failure on their part to not re-engineer this pump.
Exactly. A lot of these vehicles, like we talked about, it's from 2011 to present, so a very reputable institution put everybody on notice back in 2002 saying, hey,
Almost 10 years before.
yeah, it's not like they put the pumps out and then realized there was something that was overlooked. It was more of a...
I don't want to oversimplify this, because I know we have a sophisticated audience and a lot of diesel mechanics, but for those that aren't, I just want to recap a point, because I think it bears mentioning. In the past, and even on some diesel systems today, we've got a lift pump, which is kind of like a sump pump that's grabbing the fuel from the tank and pushing it up to the engine. Then we have another pump, which is taking a larger flow, pressurizing it, and giving you high pressure to your injectors, so that we get that efficient burn and we get good fuel economy and extreme horsepower. This pump is trying to suck the fuel all the way out of the tank through at a high pressure rate and put it into the system. So there's just a lot more heat, a lot more wear, and you need more lubricity to do that. In the meantime, we pulled the lubricity out of the fuel, so it's like a doubling effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the ways, there's certain things you can do. Some are very inexpensive, some are a little bit more expensive to help protect yourself. The first is to buy your fuel from a reputable place, a place that turns a lot of fuel, brand name place. You know that the filters in the pumps are being maintained well. Another thing to do is these pumps have a pressure regulator. People have some aftermarket regulators that have a tighter strainer on it to keep the bits from going through your fuel system. People like Exergy have that. S&S has a retrofit kit where you can actually convert the CP4 back to a CP3. That's one option for a Duramax, and for a Ford they have a bypass kit which allows the fuel, once it goes through the CP4, it takes a pass again through a filter before it goes to your fuel system. So there's a few ways that you can kind of minimize your risk.
Okay.
But we'll also talk about maybe best practices to whether you have a Duramax or even have a truck with a CP4, what you can do to protect your fuel system, because mechanically they are all pretty similar. They're very similar to an engine, and that's why we have these demos for you guys. One is a failed CP4 and one is a newer one, and when you see how it's put together, it's actually a lot like an engine, so you can really understand how lubrication is important.
Well, let's dig into that in a moment,
All right.
because we're just doing our housekeeping things. We do want to give a couple dealer shout outs and let you know that there is some new things coming to our website, so tune in tomorrow, check the website, check it on this weekend and on Monday. It's a complete redo that Levi and Carmen have been working on. Should be exciting, should be a lot better, and they've really worked hard on this, and we're real proud of them for being able to pull this all together. So dealer shout outs.
Yeah, so first is J&H Auto in Akron, Colorado.
Very good. And we got Dynamic Diesel in someplace in California. Was that
Yucaipa, maybe?
Yucaipa?
I'm glad you're saying that one.
Yeah, see, they put that on mine. Okay. We got Diesel Injection Service in Colton, California. See, that's an easy. I could do Colton,
Yeah.
California. And then Rudolph Brothers and Company in Canal, Winchester, Ohio. That's right down the road from us.
Yeah, it is.
Also, just so you know, most of our products are available at retailers. We do have product at O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Tractor Supply, AutoZone, Advanced Auto, Rural King. All the major truck stops carry our product. Pilot Loves, TA Petro. Depending on their clientele, they'll have different products. Like Pilot carries Diesel Extreme and a Stiction Eliminator, because that's a semi-truck thing, and now they're starting to carry EDT, so you'll see more of these expand. Tractor Supply, they cater to the whole, most of the people that go in the tractor are a farmer, ag person. Almost everybody has a diesel equipment, so they actually have our whole lineup. They've got the TBM booster, the winter diesel additive, a lot more variety. And then our dealers usually carry a wider line. Our dealers are, like J&H Auto and Dynamic Diesel. They're not so much worried about turns on the shelf space like a retailer would be. They're worried about making your truck run great. So they will carry a wider line. So we really want you to support them. If you have an idea for a dealer or somebody in your hometown that you think we should be selling, email us, let us know, and we'll contact them and see how we could set them up. That's really what we do here. So, and again, put your questions in now, and we'll jump on them in a second. Let me just tell you this weekend what's happening on Motor Trend Network. Truck U is going to have an episode at 1 o'clock on 10.5. I don't know what 10.5 is, but it's going to be on Diesel Extreme and EDT. And then Truck U again at 10:30 on 10.6 is going to be Stiction Eliminator. So tune in and see you could see them talking about it. That'll be Matt and Bruno talking about our products, giving you a little bit of insight on what we do. Then upcoming events.
Yeah, big event this weekend. The Outlaw Diesel Series. It's the finals this weekend.
Oh, this is it. We're done.
Finally here. This is the last leg of the tour.
Rudy's, yep.
Down in Julian, North Carolina. And there's some really big things happening over the weekend.
Okay, you gonna tell us those, or you gonna make us guess?
Well, one thing if you guys aren't familiar with the Outlaw class, there's 7 different classes, and 5 out of the 7 classes, the first place people are running our products. So that's fun. The other interesting thing about this weekend is that after the event, there's going to be a grudge match between Larson Miller and the Fire Punk Save the Racks truck and Wade Moody. And this weekend is Wade Moody's debut of his Corvette that people have been expecting to see all season.
Okay.
He actually thought he'd been out at the first event, but some things have been taking a little longer to test and tune. We've been talking to him and tweaking some things with his fluids to viscosity wise to optimize what he's doing. And there's going to be a $10,000 grudge match.
Wow.
Yeah, so winner takes that. Both of them are nice enough that they've said, we win this $10,000, we're going to donate it to charity. So it's kind of a fun thing with bragging rights, but that's going to take place after the event, which is going to be kind of fun to see.
Who do you think is going to win?
Well, they're both running our racing oils, so we kind of win either way.
Well, I mean, but who's got is it going to be equipment or skill? Where's the? Kevin's like, boy, you put me on the spot.
The big unknown is what Wade is gonna bring. It's definitely gonna be like an epic race, because it's gonna be the 2 fastest door slammers on the planet duking it out. So it may just come down to whose tires stick better to the track.
Okay, so it'll be close either way.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. That's what makes it so exciting. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
So would you recommend everybody go down to Rudy's this weekend?
Definitely. And then the other thing that's happening, we sponsor the Pro Street class. So we put out I guess you would call it a bounty. That's what everybody wanted to call it. A bounty where the first 4-second pass is going to get either $500 in cash or $1,000 in product. So what that's going to look like. A lot of times when guys go through qualifying, they try to qualify, but they don't really like crank it up. They don't give it all it has. We think that now with this extra incentive that we have out there, that everybody's going to crank it up even in qualifying. So Friday and Saturday are going to be pretty interesting days.
So if they hit a 4-second run even in qualifying, they get the $500?
Yeah, that's actually where we think they'll do it. The rules with ODSS, if they get lower than 4 in actual racing, they'll actually be disqualified. It's a strange rule, but you actually can be too fast and and be disqualified. So
Yeah, I don't get it, but okay, I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Okay, well, very good. Anything else going on in racing that we want to inform our family on?
We'll just give some updates next week. We do have the debut of our Summit Racing build. Summit Racing put together a build, and our fluids are in it. It's going to have its debut here locally at Mid-Ohio track.
Okay.
So we're going to send a couple people up there. I'm probably going to go up on Saturday and be there for support and to
Okay.
be part of it all. So
So R&D this week, what have you guys been? Have you done anything this week? Or
no, it's been pretty slow.
Sitting there eating a ham sandwich and just watching Netflix?
Yeah, watching Netflix.
Ugh.
Yeah, we're just finishing up. The way we do things here, we have our goals for the quarter. Of course, you know that. Explain it to everybody else.
We set quarterly goals, each department, then we try to go over them and see what we can do there.
So we're finishing up what we had planned for the quarter. So we're doing some testing with the ZF fluid. We've been testing some different formulations in our oxidizer here, so we can optimize that formula. Aaron has been spending a lot of time on that. Also setting up our new oil analyzer, and trying to think other noteworthy things.
So
we've
you
done
didn't
this
do that much this
I don't
week. You really are just sitting around
It's kind of
watching
hard when you put me
Netflix.
on the spot like that. Yeah, maybe we didn't do anything.
Well, I'll give you a hand. I know what we've been doing. We've been working on a series of videos that are going to be coming out, and we've had R&D helping us with lining up the scripts and what do we want to talk about and how do we make sure that all the information's put in there. And the goal would be if we do a video on diesel fuel is one of the topics that we're going to do, like Diesel Fuel 101. And the name of the series is called Fuel Your Mind. So the idea is after we put everything out into an outline form, Kevin and Aaron go over and say, okay, here's a couple things we missed. Here's some other things that we know people would want to know about. So that takes a lot of time because we're doing, I think, 3 of them right now. Mm-hmm. One of the videos will be on the CP4 pump. And they've also been helping us set the studio up to make sure that we have all the things that we need. We have a new car lift put in there. So yeah, R&D's been busy on a lot of different things, just not anything as big as releasing the LX4. Those are big days. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a minute to do a little bit of Q&A. You've got the questions up there, and Levi, if you can help with some of the questions too, if you can see them there, just shout them out, and we'll do our best. The other thing coming up, besides our video series that's going to start, we also have Apex coming up November 5th through the 7th. That'll be a big thing. So if you're in Las Vegas or you go to SEMA and Apex are both the same show, 2 convention centers, just about everything automotive aftermarket is there. We're in the Apex part of it because that's more for the buyers and things, just where we've always been. We're in booth number 2477, and it should be a good show. We'll also be giving a TED Talk style up in the lobby. They have a stage, and they have phased different people in it. I'm going to give a speech on the future of nano lubricants. Nanos have been around for a while, but they've had a lot of issues in the past. So we've resolved a lot of those issues, and we're going to share that with the crowd. So if you are there, come to the TED Talk. I think it's at 12 to 12:20.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure which day. Maybe Thursday. So how are we doing on questions, Kevin?
Okay. Michelle gave us some advice here on that the California city that we couldn't pronounce. It is pronounced Yucaipa, California.
Yucaipa?
Yucaipa, yeah.
Well, how did they get that? It begins with a C. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, Yucaipa. Gotcha. Yep. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you.
Yucaipa. Any other good questions there?
Yeah, James Bruce. How you doing, James? He just mentioned we need to figure out a better way to get products to Greece. His brother bought some products, and it looks like $100 in tariff on top of the cost of the product. So,
Levi, are we on Amazon EU yet?
Yeah.
So we do it. We are on there.
Some products.
We do have some products on Amazon EU, and we're starting to open up all those. Amazon has Amazon Canada, Mexico. So I would think that if you're in Greece, Amazon EU would be a good place to grab some product. And we'll try to expand that line out as we move.
okay, I have a question from Max Pavlik. He says he's used Rotella religiously for years, adding Stiction Eliminator to it, and he'd love to try Black Diamond. What is the pros and cons? So Black Diamond is pretty much all you can throw at an oil. It's a version of our racing oil that has a 14 TBN in it and a PAO package. So because the zinc level is so high, and to give you an idea of where it's at, it's the difference between being 1,200 parts per million of zinc and being about 2,800 parts per million of zinc. So what I would ask is if you still have emission systems on your truck, or if your truck is burning a lot of oil, that may not be the best one for you. It would protect your truck the best, but you have that the zinc, if you're burning oil, can plug up your emission system over time. So
My answer would be the Black Diamond or the Blue Diamond. The difference in the base oil, they're using a Group 3 if it's the synthetic version. If it's not, then it'd be a Group 2 and 3. We're using a Group 4, the PAO synthetic, which is a man-made product, and it almost cannot be sheared. So the way that would look is in 50,000 miles, if you pulled that oil, it would probably still be in spec. The Black Diamond, if you went that direction, you've got probably about twice as much detergent in there as you would the Rotella. Rotella is going to come in, they call that the TBN, or the total base number. So the TBN on Rotella is around 7. The Black Diamond is around a 14. So it's got twice as much detergent. The base oil is made to last about 5 times longer. It's just a much more stout oil. You can definitely leave it in there longer. It's definitely going to protect your engine longer and better. So those would be the big take homes. Of course, you're going to get better fuel economy and reduced wear also. That just comes with it.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah, on the wear test, when we do what we call the G133, it's an ASTM test, we're checking wear levels, and the Black Diamond and Blue Diamond are built with our FR3, proprietary chemistry that reduces the wear by 50%. So just to throw some rough numbers out, the Shell Rotella tested at the size of the scar was around 0.835. And when we got done with the Stiction Eliminator in that product, we were at 0.314, so it was 62% less wear. So your Rotella with your Stiction Eliminator is reducing the wear in your engine by about 60%. So you're doing well already, but the Black Diamond or Blue Diamond might be a good alternative.
Okay, hey Trey, how you doing? Trey Sykes is in the house.
Trey, good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm sure you're in North Carolina waiting for the race.
And he says he's assuming that he's talking about the matchup between Wade and Larson, the grudge match. He's assuming there's lots of skill in holding the pedal to the floor, not turning left or right abruptly. That's probably true.
Yeah, I would say that would be good. That's a good skill to have. Turning left or right could definitely be a deal breaker in that.
Yeah.
Anything else we got going on? What's TJ saying there?
He says, you're right, but one has been racing all year. The other one I thought retired. I haven't seen him in so long. Should be interesting. He's talking about Wade.
Ah, Wade. They're talking trash, saying that you're retired.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're ready to get into the CP4 pumps?
Yeah, I think so.
One question. Check your phone.
Okay.
Got one more question.
Brian Fidazzo.
Okay. Yeah, the question is, how much lubricity does EDT add compared to LX4? And is there much benefit to run LX4 for those of us with the CP3 pumps? The EDT has a lubricity additive in it, and from our testing, it generally takes the lubricity down. In unadditized fuel, generally takes it down about 100 if you're running at the performance dose.
So that would be, just to give you some rough idea, that would be about 25%?
Yes.
So it's
No.
about 25% improvement over raw fuel.
Yeah. Now we've done a lot of lubricity testing, and what we found is that some lubricity additives don't have a cumulative effect. So maybe you start at a 550 and you add a little bit more lubricity, maybe it doesn't affect it very much. So
Point of diminishing returns.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So if you have a fuel that the refiner has already put a bunch of lubricity in to meet the spec, sometimes you can't push it very far.
Okay.
So the biggest difference, so honestly, what we find sometimes in EDT is the lubricity is improved, but not as much. It's not as consistent, and it's not as much as we would like. So in doing this whole project with lubricity additives, we found a really concentrated lubricity additive that so far in our testing we haven't found anything that it doesn't give like cumulative gains to on top of the refinery additives. So it's more compatible. It's going to be more effective and more consistent as far as the lubricity goes. So
let me unpack that for you, just because Kevin said a mouthful there. He's saying that the EDT is made to be optimum for that type of formula, for an everyday treatment formula. And if you pull 6 different fuels, you're going to get 6 different results. We found that it works really well in some fuels and works good in other fuels. The LX4, on the other hand, is going to be a knock out of the park type of thing. There's no holding back on that. It's just pure lubricity, and it's a different chemistry. It will be added to our EDT soon. From this point forward, the EDT will contain LX4, just like our oils and all of our oil additives contain the FR3. That's the way LX4 is going to be. It's going to become a component in everything we're doing. But go ahead, on the LX4, you're going to say a little bit.
there was a follow-up question, and so he asked also, is there a benefit to run LX4 for those of us with a CP3 pump?
What's your take on that?
Yeah, any mechanical pump, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we take these pumps apart, but even the CP3 pump, the way it rotates and the lower part of the pump that does the work, there's still 2 rubbing surfaces together. Pretty much any injection pump is some form of a kind of a hybrid gear pump, I guess you'd say, where there's really close tolerances and rotating assemblies to do the work to increase the pressure. So,
Well, let me throw one more thing in there. The LX4 has shown a lot of gains, even on top of the EDT, in terms of fuel economy. So one of the other things that we're investigating right now is how much is it acting as an upper cylinder lubricant, not just a upper cylinder lubricant like something Lucas might put out there, but like a super synthetics type of thing. It's not synthetic, but you get the idea. I mean, the point is, because we got mileage gains on top of EDT, we're thinking that there's an upper cylinder action going on, or it's making the pump more efficient. Something is happening that we don't quite understand yet, but as we develop it, we'll keep you informed. So yes, there is a performance gain and a wear gain. We know just from the numbers as they are that you're going to have less wear in any fuel pump with LX4 versus not having LX4, just because you're adding more lubricity.
yeah, and just so you know, our target with EDT with LX4 is if your diesel fuel was completely out of spec, so 520 is the biggest the wear scar is allowed to be and be in spec. Most diesel fuel that's unadditized is over 600. So if you take over 600 diesel fuel, and we're saying worst case scenario, the additives fell out of solution, we want to be able to bring that 600 down to the 460 where the Engine Manufacturers Association recommends. So we can say, confidently, even if there's no lubricity in your diesel fuel, you will be protected if you have a CP4 pump. So we have some samples out right now with the EDT and the LX4 in it, so we're trying to get some repeatability on that test and making sure that we have the right amount of LX4 in there to meet that claim.
Okay, so what Kevin is referring to is the federal government is saying if you sell diesel fuel in the U.S., the lubricity has to be a minimum of a 520 on the SCAR test. We have tested fuels before that have come in above that. So even though the federal government says it has to be, they also say that the cetane has to be a minimum of 40, but we've tested fuels that were 38 and 37. So that doesn't mean that you're getting it even at a 520. So the idea would be if you put the LX4 in, even if it was a 650, it's still going to bring it down below 460. I don't know if that's an easy way to say that or not, but go ahead.
No, that sounds better.
Are we ready to go on, or is there anything else, Levi? Okay, let's jump into these CP4, CP3 pumps, and why don't you give me a little bit of a primer, because I'm new to the whole CP4 pump business myself.
Okay, so we have two pumps here. One is a failed pump, and one is a newer pump. So we'll show you what a new pump looks like. And so
Just tip it that way towards the camera.
it's actually supposed to be that camera right there. Is that?
There we go. Levi got it.
Okay. Make sure I get these in your view here. Okay, so in the CP4 pump, this is the cam that does all the work. And try to get this into your view also. These springs cause the buckets to ride up and down inside the shaft, and using this roller, it glides around this camshaft and goes up and down, and that's what makes the work. So you can see, it's two rotating surfaces, but it's under extreme pressure. When we took this pump apart, I thought it was going to shoot across the room. The springs are under a lot of load. So
Any idea what the load is?
No. Diesel fuel, it is an oil, but it's a really thin oil. And the failure rate in these with just a little bit less lubricity says how sensitive, or how important, I guess is a better way to say it, that the lubricity is. So, again, it just rotates like this, and I don't know if you can see very well the shininess of this surface. This is a good pump. As opposed to this one. So what happened to this pump is the cam started to get gouges in it, the cam and roller. When that happens, you get little bits of contamination. You can kind of see it laying in the bottom there. Little tiny bits of metal start to form. So these buckets that slide up and down in the shaft, they get little bits of metal in it, and they start moving. The roller stops moving. In this pump right here, the rollers actually fell out of the buckets and were just laying loose in there. So basically what usually happens is it seizes up somehow. It stops working. A lot of times it'll actually take the side out of the pump, and it's always a catastrophic failure.
I know you can't see this very good, but if you could see, let's see if we can get that. Where are we at?
So it's right about here.
I'm over here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to come in very clear. Tate, we need better focus on this. All right, so this is what I'll describe to you. The surface of this metal is all pitted and fatigued. If it is the opposite of the other one, which is as shiny as a mirror. And you could just tell that as the metal fragments started to go. Yeah, if you could see the difference, you would notice, you would be able to see the pits and the grinding inside the metal. And on the CP4 video that we're going to do tomorrow, we will have close-ups with a microscope just to give you an idea of how bad the difference is. So what's happening is, as these rollers are going over top of this lobe, and the pressure is being pushed on it, there's no lubricating film between it, or there's not enough lubricating film in between it to keep it lubricated. So then it starts to pull the metal off. The metal starts to become an abrasion, and it starts to scrape off more. Mm-hmm. And then the rest just goes south from there. That's what we call catastrophic failure.
Yeah. And there's other factors that can contribute to a compromised lubricating film. So if you have moisture in your fuel, mm-hmm. that keeps the diesel from lubricating as well. If you have air bubbles in your fuel, mm-hmm. it'll keep it from lubricating as well. So by using the lubricity additive, it gives you more of a safety buffer there. Mm-hmm. When you do have water come through, or you do have small pieces of particle come through, it's just a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, so again, the lubricity additive is the first line of defense,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So how about a vacuum pump, like one of those systems that we've looked at before? Would that take the air bubbles out? Do we know how much this is contributed from air?
Yeah, that's the lawsuit is centered around air, but the bottom line is the lubricity. And what people are really looking at is the European spec for diesel fuel is 460 on the wear scar. So the maximum size it can be is 460. In the United States, it's 520. So it's, what is that, 30% difference right there. But that 30% difference in lubricity is contributing to an 8%, 7 to 8% failure in the United States versus less than a 1% failure overseas. So the bottom line is the root cause is there's not a lot not enough lubricity in American diesel fuel to protect the pumps consistently. And when they say a 7% failure rate, that means the 7% that are actually on the road being used.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty high if you think of like 10 trucks and 1 out of 10 is, or just a little bit less than 1 out of 10 is going to be affected.
Well, and what makes this important is this is not just a fuel pump going out. If it was just a fuel pump dying out, this would never be a lawsuit and it wouldn't be as big of a deal. The problem is that it's a fuel pump giving out and putting metal shards into the rest of the fuel system. I don't know if it was you that was telling me or Aaron or somebody else was saying that. One of the mechanics they talked to said that people try to do this themselves and they don't flush the whole system and they try not to replace everything, and then
Yeah, it's impossible to flush it.
so then the metal shards end up coming back and trashing the next set of injectors that you put in.
I mean, if you think about it, it's even returning that stuff back to the fuel tank.
Yeah,
You know, it's so
not good.
yeah, it's about 25 to 30 hour repair to replace everything.
Yeah, so that's really where the big deal is. It's that you've released thousands of little tiny metal shards into the fuel system to contaminate it.
Yeah.
The tank, the fuel system, everything. So you don't want that. And the best way to protect yourself is LX4.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about questions? How are we
See
doing
where
on
we're at
time?
here.
We're doing good? We got anything good there?
Joseph Lavora, he said, "Hey, I just put stiction eliminator in my 6.7 Cummins. Did I waste my money?" It's a good question.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, coincidentally, we had done some fuel economy tests in a 6.7 Cummins in a FedEx truck, and we took a FedEx truck and we put stiction eliminator in it, and even though it doesn't have the Huey injectors, the restoring effect and the extra lubricity that stiction eliminator adds, we were able to get a 3% increase in fuel economy. And what that says is that friction's being reduced, the rings are being sealed up, and it allows the engine to do more work and work more efficiently. So actually we're finding that more and more applications, people are benefiting from the stiction eliminator because of the really good lubricity that it has.
Well, and the cleaning effect. So
Yeah.
look at it this way. I think, let's say there was a study that came out and said that people that have red hair can decrease the amount of cancer by 50% if they take vitamin D3. Everybody else is going to have better moods and live 5 years longer. Well, it's good for everybody, Well, the stiction eliminator is the same way. It's good for every engine, especially diesel engines. If you have a Ford 6-liter, that's what it was made for, and that was the most obvious place that it was necessary. You have to use it if you have a Ford 6. So you have two choices: either replace your injectors every 100,000 miles or use stiction eliminator. But for the rest of us that have every other kind of vehicle, it's still going to go in there and clean up. It's going to clean up and super lubricate everything. Remember I said we had a 62% reduction in wear when we added the stiction eliminator to the engine oil. So it's the unique thing about what we were able to create with this stiction eliminator is the ability to clean the inside of the engine and lubricate it at the same time. Usually cleaning involves some sort of solvent. We don't have any solvents in there. So what we're doing is we're cleaning and lubricating them with nanocarbons and esters to make it run better. So you will see an increase in horsepower, a reduction in wear, and just a better engine. You don't need to use it every oil change. Every third oil change is good. The FR3 is a good follow-up. Use that the rest of the time because that is the same idea, just with less detergent in it, less cleaning ability. Because we figure once you've got it all cleaned up, you don't need all that. So we tried to make it a little bit easier, a little more appetizing for everybody else. Any other questions there, Kevin?
What's the TBN of the green or blue diamond 1540 oils? Both of those are right around 10.
the API maxed out how much detergent you can put in. We used to be able to put in 12. Now I think 10 is about as high as you can go without not being listed anymore under API. Me personally, I like 12 and 14, and if you want, you can always add TBN booster to anything and bring your TBN up.
Yeah. Kyle Fisher is watching, and he said, Chris is unnerding Kevin. I love it.
Okay. I don't know why.
Usually he's the one that unnerds you.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, Michelle Johnson, she responded to that last comment and said, not at all. She runs it in her 6.7. She noticed better economy, quieter, and more power. Let's see. I think we're caught up.
Okay, and that's generally what we do here. Quieter, better fuel economy, things of that nature. So stay tuned for a more in-depth video with lots of good information where we're going to deep dive into the CP4 pump. I'm not sure how long it'll take them to edit it, but hopefully you'll see that the next month or two. We'll post that on here, and we're going to go through is there any other announcements that we have to put together here?
I just wanted to mention to everybody to like our Facebook page. We're offering a deal right now. If you give us a video testimony, that we'll give you a personalized banner, like a hotshot banner with either your company name on it, if you send us the graphics, or whatever you want to call your garage.
Hey, it's personalized to you. I mean, it could be Levi's Garage, Hotshot Secret, and you can put it up on the back of your garage. It'll make a great thing to talk about when your friends come over and you're working on your car. Plus, it'll make you look professional. I mean, you have your own banner in your garage. So, like us on Facebook, and we'll get you a banner. Okay, Kevin, you want to pick 2 winners for product giveaway, and then we need to get to our next meeting.
I'm going to pick Michelle Johnson.
Yes.
She's a loyal follower there.
Thanks, Michelle. Send us over your information, and we'll get some product out to you. What product you going to send?
And Max Pavlik. Casey said before the episode here that we have some banners left over. We have a few koozies, and I said we just give them an option of any
product they want.
Yeah, any product they want.
Okay.
Maybe a 32-ounce bottle.
Okay. Max.
Don't forget about Troy Kennedy.
Troy Kennedy. Okay. In the meantime, while he's looking up Troy Kennedy, Michelle and Max, send over what your preferences are. We're going to shoot you out a little goodie bag with a banner, some koozies, and maybe a 32-ounce bottle of something. And what's Troy bringing up?
What kind of oil for a muscle car rock crusher manual transmission? He's talking about the ones with the Muncie M21 or M22.
I think he's avoiding the hard questions.
Kevin is? Are you avoiding the hard questions, Kevin? Oh, he looks
I
nervous.
can't answer that. I have to look that up.
Okay.
I don't want to
Type
say it
that?
wrong.
What would it be?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay, Troy, we have to look this up.
I think
because
that's
we
the
don't.
third time he stumped me.
Oh, jeez. All right, we're gonna have to ban Troy. Have to ban him. He's got some too hard a question. Okay, Troy, if we forget to get back to you this week, we will have the answer by next Thursday when we come back on, and
Yeah.
we'll find out. We got a lot going on this week with the video shooting, but if we forget, we'll make sure it's here before next week. And if we forget, think about it, send me an email or a text, any questions that haven't been answered, and we'll make sure we cover them all, because we don't want to let anything go underserved here.
Yep.
Okay, well, until next week, everybody have a great weekend. It's only Thursday, but have a great Friday tomorrow, and we will see you next Thursday. Be sure to like us and tell your friends about the video, a little bit of information about the CP4, and more to come. Everybody have a great afternoon.